Alright, I went ahead and took my original template and laid it over these scales and marked kind of a rough location of a hole, just so I know that it's relatively centered with the original pattern. And now I'm just going to rotate this where I could see that mark through this hole. And use that as a guide. To drill my final handle hole. And using that method, you know for sure that your two backspring pins are going to fit and line up in the handle, and everything's going to be where it needs to be for the final assembly. So that's really it for the holes. We will be reaming these out when it comes time to paint the pins, but as far as the drill press, we're essentially done with it. I'm going to go ahead and do the other set of scales, and then we'll move on to tempering our back spring. Alright guys, we're going to do a final draw temper of the spring to give it a spring temper, because as it stands now, the back spring and the blade are the exact same hardness. And if we leave it like this, chances are it's eventually going to break with repeated openings and closings as this flexes back and forth. So we want it just a little bit softer, a little bit springier. And one way to do that, again, you could just stick it in your tempering oven at about 670 for several minutes or an hour. Or the way I like to do it, which is just as effective and quite a bit faster, is to go ahead and just heat it with a hand torch. Now, it kind of goes without saying, you need to be very careful. You're looking for a deep blue or purple on this. Obviously, things will start heating up very fast, especially with a map torch. So you kind of want to take it easy, give yourself plenty of distance from the flame, and kind of do it in steps, because this does start turning pretty quickly before you know it. And I like to start out with the thicker part, as obviously it'll take a little longer to heat up, and your thinner areas will naturally catch up on their own. So try to do both sides evenly until we get that color we're looking for. Starting to turn straw to a purple in the middle there, and you can actually see it turning even after the torch has been taken off. So we're very close. We're just going to let that follow itself out. Propane torch would probably be a little better on this as it goes a little slower. Sorry if I'm out of frame on that. We're pretty much there. I'll hit it just a little bit more on this area, but that's essentially what you're looking for. It could be a little more even, but that'll be just fine. I'll go ahead and quench it in my water bucket, and this one's ready to go. Alright, we've now finished tempering our back springs, and what we're going to do now is start cleaning things up a little bit in preparation for assembly. So what I want to do now, I'm going to go ahead and take my small wheel with a fine grit belt and put a polish on the inside of this, and at that point I'll essentially be done with the inside of the back spring. The next part will be to square up the end here and start fitting up the mating surfaces of our ting and our back spring. But right now I want to go ahead and get this to its final dimension before I start squaring anything up or taking any metal away from here. Obviously, the majority of this can be done with a sanding block. Or a piece of sandpaper wrapped around a file. I do it this way because obviously it's a lot faster. But you do want to take special care that you keep this end as flat as you possibly can. So I'm taking almost nothing off the end of that. And then I'll go ahead and do my inside curves. Alright, we got a nice even polish on the inside, so that when we look inside the finished knife, it'll be nice and pleasant looking. So this spring's pretty much done for now. Next step again will be to square things up and make sure our mating surfaces are going to be where they need to be for the open position of the knife. So I'm going to set this aside, I'm going to do the other one, and then we'll start setting up for our first assembly.